Welcome to Deep Thought. Encounters with people are lessons. Encounters with people are lessons. You know what? One of the things people have to understand is the spiritual growth there is in relationships. This is very key. People have to realize that when we encounter people, they can be a lesson for us, one way or the other. They can teach us something, whether they're a good person or bad. Like, for example, when you're dealing with a person who's negative, like dealing with you in a negative way and they kind of funky and all of that, all right, you might see it as a nuisance, but then what's the lesson there? What's the lesson in that person? It could be, and it could be several lessons. One could be to stand up for yourself. Seriously. Because I'm going to tell you something now. If you're a person, you let people continually bully you, it's going to get worse every year. Every year, every time. If you don't stand up to that first person, then it's going to get worse. It's just like if you get bullied in school and, don't beat the crap out the person. Others are going to come. And it's going to keep going, and it'll probably follow you in life. But then there might be another lesson when that bully comes and, you bust him in the face. Or you say something, they cutting you with some remarks or something, you cut them. But those are lessons. Or the lesson could be learning how to ignore stuff, looking at a different perspective. It depends. There's not no universal lesson to it. But the lesson, ultimately, whatever that encounter with the bully, you're supposed to learn something. And if you don't learn it, it's going to happen again and again. Because once you learn it, once you satisfactorily learn that lesson, what you're going to find is it's not going to happen as much. That one time you stand up to the bully, and that's going to change everything about you. That's going to change everything about you and everything. You done changed your life in that moment. That's the lesson. Or it could be, let's always use relationships since I talk about that. Every single rejection is a lesson. It tells you what doesn't work for you. And if you address it and start changing some stuff, you actually get to the point where you're not going to get rejected as easily. You'll learn how to deal with people, everything. Because see, here's the thing. When we are dealing with people, even on just a minor basis, it could be just dealing with someone in a cashier at the grocery store. You're learning something. You learn how to deal with people because that's the method of growth. That's the growth. And like I said, it's not just a romantic relationship. And see, issues that you have within, you actually draw somebody who will bring it out of you. If you have an issue, let's go back to the relationship thing. If you have an issue with jealousy, I would say I can pretty much guarantee you want to deal with a mate who's going to challenge that issue. Or you have an issue with possessiveness. You possess them. You're going to find that person who's going to challenge you, whatever it is. And then, if you need healing from something, the right people are going to come along. Let me use the relationship example again. And I'm going to tell you what, let me just be clear with a lot of romantic relationships, those are best lessons. Those are the greatest lessons. More people can point to a relationship or something and say they grew from it. They grew from it. But say it's a relationship situation, you need healing. You just got out of a bad relationship and then you need healing, but you actually need to develop certain traits. That person will come along. Like a situation where a man, he's working to grow as he's a nice guy, have trouble with women, but he starts doing some work within himself to change. What'll happen is a woman will come along, find him attractive and help him to bring out what he needs to bring out within. It could be a situation. Well, a good situation is he needs to be more assertive. He needs to be more upfront, more take charge. He's going to get a woman who will have enough to attract him, but have the traits where she's only going to treat him right when he takes charge. Like if he don't take charge, he's not assertive. She's going to argue with him. She's going to give him trouble. When he becomes assertive, she's like, we chilled now. That's the lesson. Everything. And it depends, like I said, it depends what it is. Like using a bully example again. Sometimes you might have to go above whatever they trying with you, or a heckler or, a troll or something like on social media. Sometimes you got to rise above it. Then sometimes, depending on who you are, it might be a situation where you do need to go at them, but it brings something out of you. And I want y'all to think about different times that you've grown from encounters with people. Think about sometimes you might have stood up for yourself. You might have said something. You might have approached a person. You might have did something. All of a sudden you notice everything's going well because you learned the lesson from it. You applied the lesson from it, And that's how you have to look at it. See, this is a classroom because, here's the thing. People don't really grow if they just stay to themselves. They don't have to. They're not challenged. See, we either react or enact things with somebody. We might be the cause of something. We might start something, or somebody else starts the action with us. And I don't mean in a violent way, but they might approach us, start talking, we responding to them. But then we doing it for other people. Sometimes we're the lesson for somebody else. Sometimes people need to hear somebody say something. Like with my book, Nice Guys and Players, I've had for years, I've had people say, Rom, your book crystallized something. There was a lesson in it. They learned from it. Even though it was at a distance, they were still reading my words. And even in the books, that's an encounter. Like a dear elder told me one time, when you're reading something, it's like you speaking with that person, but there's a lesson. And that's the important thing, everyone. That's the important thing. We're not on this planet just to sit back and chill. We're not. We're here on a mission. We're supposed to grow. We're supposed to become a better version of ourselves. Is it easy? Heck no. Heck no, it's not easy. But if we get a perspective, like I use myself for an example. Whenever I get anybody who come against me, like in these YouTube spaces, first thing I sit back and think, all right, before I respond, and there's been some times, people might remember, there's been some times, indeed, there was one content creator, I ain't gonna call his name because it's one of the few times I deleted my response, because, it shocked a lot of people and everything because I was low-key threatening and I was ready to get on an airplane. But then I look back at it, it's okay, what was the lesson? And I saw the lesson in it all. I said, okay, now I get it better. But, if I get anybody, I say, okay, what's the lesson with this person? This person saying this or that. What's the real lesson? And times that's what I always do. I say, whenever I encounter somebody negative or something, I'll say, okay, what's the real lesson there? And then if I don't see anything, I can't come up with anything, then I think to myself, well, maybe I'm the lesson to somebody. I've had many people who talked to me and they said, they didn't feel anything for me. They didn't agree with what I said, but then they listened well and it's like, oh, it changed them. So it's like, hey, that's the thing. It's always a lesson. So anyway, that's all I have for now, y'all. Get back with y'all later. Peace and blessings.